Hi y'all, welcome to Megan's Wreath Boutique. Today I'm going to be showing y'all how I made this super cute strawberry wreath attachment. If you haven't already noticed, the stores are full of strawberries for the summertime, so strawberries are really popular this summer, so I wanted to make a strawberry wreath, but I needed a strawberry wreath attachment. So the first thing I did was I went to Google and I typed in strawberry coloring pages and went to images, and I picked this strawberry coloring page. This was just the one that I liked, but they have a bunch to choose from, so look around and see what you prefer and choose the one you want. I printed it out and I just cut it out, and now I'm going to trace it because I want the stem to be a separate piece from the actual strawberry. So I'm going to trace the stem and then cut it out as well. Now when I get to the bottom of the stem, I can't go over where the strawberry's at, so I'm just gonna eyeball it and trace it the best I can. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's gonna get covered up by material, so don't stress too much about it looking exactly like the picture. This is a longer video, so there are a few parts that are sped up just for time, just to help shorten the video a little bit. So if you run into any questions or see something that I didn't describe, please let me know down in the comments and I'll be happy to answer any questions you have or anything else that you need further explained. Also, let me know down in the comments if you're a wreath maker or if you make wreath attachments. I'd love to know who's watching. And let me know if you're a wreath maker, what kind of summer wreath do you have planned out, or what type of wreath are you working on right now? Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is I grabbed a foam board from the Dollar Tree and I am going to trace the strawberry and the stem separately onto the foam board, and then I'm going to cut it out as two separate pieces. Now when you're doing this, you want to make sure that you're cutting on a cutting mat, because I don't prefer using scissors. It doesn't do well when cutting the foam board. I'm using an X-Acto knife right here, or like a little razor blade would work. Just be careful when you're cutting it, because sometimes the foam does become a little bendy and it'll bend up on you. So just be careful when you're cutting. Again, don't stress if your edges aren't perfectly clean. It's going to get covered up by fabric, so nobody's going to see that part. Just cut it out the best you can. I just recently started getting into wreath attachment, or making wreath attachments. It's just something I like to add to my wreaths that I know that I made, and it just adds a little extra. Instead of just buying something from the store, this way I can customize it the exact way I want it to look. So I do enjoy making the wreath attachments, and I know that sometimes some of the ones that I want are pretty pricey, so if there's anything that I can ever make on my own, believe me, I'm gonna try, because I like to create things. Okay, so the next step is I'm going to add the fabric. I got this sequin fabric from Hobby Lobby, and I just folded it over to make it double the fabric, because once you put your stuffing in, it does become a little see-through. So keep that in mind. If you use this exact fabric, you might want to double it over just to make it a little thicker. All I'm doing during this step is I'm going around the edge and I'm putting hot glue, and I'm pulling the fabric pretty tight onto the back of the foam board that I cut out. Now you're gonna wanna leave a little hole in your fabric so that you can push the stuffing in. So be sure to keep that in mind when you're doing this step. I'm gonna leave this little corner open so that I can go back in and push the stuffing. So I'm gonna do the same exact thing with the green stem. I folded the fabric over to make a double layer, and for the stem it's gonna be a little more time consuming, because you're gonna have to cut slits in every one of the stem parts that are sticking out, just so you're able to fold the fabric over So just keep that in mind. This is a little more tedious than covering up the strawberry, but it turns out really cute. So just take your time with it, and I promise it'll come out looking cute. And just like I said, be sure to kind of pull the fabric tight, because you don't want wrinkles on the front side of your wreath attachment. So just go through and hot glue each piece of the stem and fold your fabric over. Also, if your hot glue gun has a setting on it where it can be like a lower temperature or a higher temperature, I recommend using the lower temperature when you're working with something like this, just because you might have to touch the hot glue here and there and it won't be as hot if it touches your fingers. But you can see that I'm using like a little stick to help it get stuck to the foam board. So again, just keep that in mind. If you have like little silicone finger protectors, you might want to use those at this point. Also, I wanted to mention, don't worry about what the back part of the wreath attachment looks like. We're going to go back and cover all that up. So don't worry about trying to make it look pretty or anything at this point. Don't forget to leave a little hole on the stem part. I left too small of a hole, so be sure to leave enough room to get that stuffing in. And this is the stuffing I use. I believe it's called polyfill. And I got it at Hobby Lobby as well. It comes in a big bag. I'm just going to tear it up and shove it in, and I'm going to use that little stick. It's kind of like a chopstick to push it all the way to the other side. You're going to want to make sure you have an even layer of the stuffing to make it look 3D. Now I am going to focus more on getting the filler or the stuffing down towards the bottom of the strawberry, and kind of leaving some room up at the top where the stem's gonna go, because I want to be able to squish that stem down onto the strawberry just to make it look a little more cohesive. I didn't want to put too much filler to where the stem was kind of like sticking straight out. So again, keep that in mind. When you're done putting the stuffing in, you're going to want to glue that last bit of fabric that you left open to push the stuffing in, and go through and fill in or hot glue any more pieces that came undone. And then we're going to work on the stem part. Again, don't worry too much about what the back part of this wreath attachment looks like. If you want to go through and cut off the excess fabric, that's up to you. Like I said, we're going to cover the back part of the wreath attachment, so none of that's going to be showing. But again, with the stem, it's a little more tedious to get the stuffing in. I didn't leave a big enough hole, so it did take me some time to get this part done. Make sure you're getting the stuffing in each little leaf part that's sticking out. You're going to want this to be fully stuffed just to add that full 3D effect. If you've made it this far in the video, I appreciate you watching. And if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, I would appreciate if you did, and be sure to like this video and share it just to help other wreath makers who are interested in making wreath attachments. All right, once you have everything good and covered and secured, you're going to want to attach the stem to the actual strawberry. Just find the correct position that you'd like, and I'm just gonna glue the bottom part of the stem onto the strawberry. So make sure you use a generous amount of hot glue because you want it to stick really good, and you're gonna have to hold it there for a minute. I am pushing down just so it kind of adheres a little better to the actual strawberry. I don't want this part coming off, so just take your time with this part and make sure it's glued down really good. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is, and this step is not required, it's just something I like to do for personal preference. It helps me attach the wreath attachments a little easier to the actual wreath, but I've seen a lot of wreath makers just glue the wreath attachments to the wreath. So if that's something you do, you don't have to do this step. So what I'm doing is I'm adding some chenille stems to the back of the strawberry, and I'm gonna go through and cover the whole back of the wreath attachment with felt. And you can use any color felt because, like I said, this is the back of the wreath attachment. Real quick, I did trace the back of the strawberry just so I know a roundabout size that I need to cut my felt. But anyways, you can use any color felt that you have on hand. Nobody's going to see this part of the wreath attachment. It's going to be attached to your wreath. So just grab some felt that you have, or go out and buy some. If I were to sell these wreath attachments, I would probably go ahead and use a red just to make it look a little more professional, but that's personal preference. Once I have the felt cut in the shape that I need it, I'm just going to make 2 little holes to push the chenille stems through, and then I'm going to glue the felt down to the back of my strawberry. Now, if you do notice some of the felt is poking or showing through the strawberry, through the front part of the strawberry, so I'm just going to trim that so it's not showing, because I don't want any of that felt to be showing when you're looking at the strawberry from the front. So just play around with it, make it work for you, and then go around and hot glue the edges. And make sure you have that felt really secure to the back of the strawberry. Okay, so for the last step, I'm just going to go through and add these little black sequins that I got from Hobby Lobby as well. I did want to add pops of pink throughout, but I didn't have any pink sequins on hand because the wreath that I'm going to make is going to have pops of pink throughout. So I kind of wanted to incorporate that with the seeds, but all I had was black on hand. So you can use whatever color you prefer, but I'm just hot gluing these beads to the front of the strawberry, and then that's going to be the end. Let me know what you think of this tutorial. Was it helpful? Let me know if you made a strawberry after watching my video. I'd love to see your pictures down in the comments. And let me know if there's any questions that I didn't answer, and I'd be happy to help. Thank you guys so much for watching.